Good afternoon. My presentation now is about analysis of back squat with and without knee wraps. So knee wraps are typically worn to gain mechanical advantage during the squat exercise. So they are used to increasing the load lifted or the number of repetitions performed with a given load. So there are several sports that are using this kind of equipment. For example, weightlifting, powerlifting, bodybuilding, or resistance training people. So during this the squat exercise, the knee wraps are stretched during the eccentric phase and return this elastic energy during the concentric phase. So this potential accumulated energy is transferred to the lifter and added to the strength of the movement. This additional force we called carryover. Aitner analyzed powerlifters by using one set of 6 repetitions at 12 maximal repetitions with and without knee wraps. So they analyzed the execution time and percentage of transition cycle of the center of mass during the concentric and eccentric phase, and the bar's vertical displacement. And their results showed no differences in biomechanics and no effect on knee wraps on work performed in the hips or knees. However, in this paper, they showed that during the use of knee wrap, you will be your knee joint will be extended. So probably you will change the way of your hip works. Another paper by Lake examined the trained subjects by using 6 sets of 80% of one maximal repetition with and without knee wraps. So they observed that the elastic properties of the knee wraps increased mechanical output by altering the back squat technique in a way that is likely to alter the target muscle. So their results suggested that wearing knee wrap restricts motion around the hip joint, upright posture, and great flexion at the knee joint. So the rationale is all previous studies have been studied dynamic squat movements. So we can add stretch shortening cycle in this carryover, add to this carryover. So we don't know what this load lifted is related to the stretch shortening cycle or a really carryover. So no study has analyzed the knee wrap mechanical behavior under deformation, that's the squat condition. And no study has analyzed the differences between knee wrap placement, the ways of add this equipment. No study has analyzed the differences during the muscle pattern in different intensities with and without knee wraps. And knee wraps on knee joint can affect the multi-joint movement pattern and affect the squat movement. So there is no previous work evaluating the rating of perceived exertion with and without knee wraps as well. So our first experiment, we analyzed the mechanical behavior of this kind of equipment. So there are 2 main knee wraps in the market, the hard knee wrap and the soft knee wrap. So the main purpose of this first part of this study was to measure the mechanical behavior of different knee wrap composition. So for that, we used the electronic stereoscope, and it was used to analyze the distance between frames of the knee wrap and define the stiffness of this kind of equipment. So we found differences between the mean of frames for each kind of equipment, the hard one and the soft one. After that, we did the traction test to measure the mechanical properties of this kind of equipment. So we analyze the stiffness of the equipment and other mechanical variables during this traction test. Here are our results. For example, the stiffness, we have a highest value to the hard knee wrap, considering the stiffness. The failure point is higher in the soft, so we can stretch the knee wrap longer. And the maximal tension is the same. So they can resist in the same tension, but the failure point and the stiffness are very different. So after that, the second experiment, we would like to analyze the carryover effect. To use that, we analyze the maximal isometric force with and without knee wrap during squat exercise. So the main purpose of this study was to investigate the acute effects on maximal isometric force with and without hard and soft knee wraps, both equipment, during back squat exercise. And we used for that the resistance trained man, 15. So this is experimental procedure. We have a load cell here, and each subject performed 3 sets to 10 seconds and 5 minutes of resting of maximal isometric contraction in this position here, with the same fit position for each condition, and approximately 90 degrees of knee flexion. And we use the spiral knee wrap technique of placement. We have here the statistical analysis. And what we found that there is a carryover effect in both conditions, in hard knee wrap and soft knee wrap, and they are very similar, around 22% of maximal isometric force compared to without knee wrap. So we observe similar results in the literature about that. So there is this carryover exists and is about around 22%. So the use of knee wrap increases the maximal isometric force during the squat exercise, independent of the level of stiffness of the knee wrap. This is very important because we did a higher number of laps in the knee with the soft knee wrap. And the higher number of laps in the soft knee wrap can result in a higher number of elastic fibers in parallel, adding elastic energy and compensating the great resistance of the hard knee wrap. So the third experiment, we would like to know about the technique of placement, the knee wrap. So we would like to know if the placement of knee wrap is important or irrelevant. So this was to investigate the acute effects on maximal isometric force with 2 different techniques of knee wraps placement, the spiral and the X technique during back squat exercise. We use as well 21 resistance trained man. The conditions are here. We add no knee wrap, a spiral knee wrap placement, the X knee wrap, and a placebo, a tensor. The same condition was conducted, and each subject performed 3 sets to 10 maximal isometric contraction, 10 seconds of maximal isometric contraction, and 5 minutes of resting. The same feet position for all conditions, and 9 degrees, and approximately 9 degrees of knee flexion. The same analysis, and we found a different level of carryover in all these conditions. So we found in spiral placement 11% of maximal isometric contraction related to our control without knee wrap. 14% of maximal isometric contraction to X knee wrap, but we didn't find any differences between both placements, way of using this knee wrap. And interestingly, the tensor increased compared to without knee wrap, but we didn't have any statistical differences. So the conclusion of this part of the experiment, the use of both spiral and X techniques presented an effective carryover effect. And the tensor condition presented an increase of 7.5% in the peak force when compared to without knee wrap. So it may be related to the physiological aspects of using a placebo or a proprioceptive effect from the tensor pressure. Here in this study, we analyzed the RPA as well. So to understand if the placement of the knee wrap could affect the sense of effort. And we didn't observe any difference between them. So the RPA results, this study observed similar values in all conditions, probably because all conditions presented the same relative intensity next to the maximum. And all knee wrap conditions did not present an additional effect in this subjective variable. So the use of different knee wrap techniques, spiral and X techniques, presented an effective carryover effect, but without difference between techniques, and the RPA was similar in all conditions. And the last experiment that we conducted was add this knowledge in the dynamic back squat analysis. So, in this study, we analyzed the kinematic and electromyography analysis of the back squat at different intensities with and without knee wraps. The purpose of this study were to measure the acute effect of knee wraps during the back squat exercise at two different intensities. Knee wrap and hip joint kinematics, dynamic muscle activation from the vastus lateralis and gluteus maximus, and the rating of perceived exertion. We analyzed 14 subjects and resistance-trained men. All of them, had 3 years of experience doing the back squat exercise. The first test was the maximal dynamic contraction, 1 RM test, until 9 degrees. And the experimental design, we warm up them. We did some familiarization with this kind of condition, and we performed the 1 RM test. After that, we used the spiral technique for all of them, and we perform one set of 3 repetitions with 90% of the maximal dynamic contraction without knee wrap. The same thing with knee wrap, and 60% of maximal contraction without and with knee wrap. A rest period of 10 minutes was used between conditions. And RPA was measured 3 minutes after each condition. The kinematic design, we used 2 cameras, and the sample rate at 60 hertz, and we use to analyze the skew spectre. Here we have the joint and barbell displacement from the kinematic. Here. And we analyze the angle of the knee and the hip, and the barbell displacement in vertical and horizontal plane. The statistical analysis and the results. So we observed that a difference between the knee wrap, the no knee wrap and knee wrap, the use of knee wrap in the knee here, and we observed a decrease of this this joint flexion for both intensities. When the most part of the studies didn't normalize the barbell displacement by the height of the subject, so we did it. So the vertical barbell displacement normalized by the height, and we observe only the difference, only a difference here, and knee wrap at different intensities. The next analysis was the IMG to the gluteus maximus and vastus lateralis during all conditions, and we observed a difference between the knee wrap at 60% and 90%. This is very common, but we observed a difference between the use of knee wraps here in the vastus lateralis and in the gluteus maximus. So when you use the knee wrap, your muscle decreases the amount of intensity. So conclusions. The use of knee wraps promoted an effective carryover effect by reducing muscle activation of the vastus lateralis around the knee joint when considered at the same intensity. This is very important. So it seems that the use of knee wraps on the knees is not advised during the resistance training, aiming the higher activation of muscles involved in the back squat exercise. So the practical application. During the training, the knee wraps may provide a mechanical advantage during submaximal lifts, reducing the amount of training adaptations that will occur under a given load, and in turn having to increase the overload to get the same adaptations at the cost of added load on the joint structure. To competitions, the knee wraps may be a good strategy in certain specific phases of periodization next to the competition, aimed to familiarization with this kind of equipment widely used and effective to lifting of high loads in competitions. Thank you. Question?